In a powerful show of support for nature, nearly every government in the world united behind the CBD's sweeping biodiversity plan for life on Earth. They committed to halting the extinction of threatened animal, plant, and fungi species. And in an historic first, they also committed to helping those species recover, so that the life we share our planet with can not only survive, but thrive. Making these goals a reality will take all of us working together. Reverse the Red is supporting governments, conservation experts, and communities around the world as they join forces to activate tried and tested tools and tie global efforts to local expertise. All in a coordinated effort to assess, plan, and act for wildlife. Together, we can save species from extinction. Together, we can secure our planet's future. Together, we can reverse the red.
Welcome, everyone. We are so glad to have you here with us today for our Species Pledge information session. We're really excited that you are all interested in learning more about the Reverse the Red Species Pledge. Maybe you have made one from your organization already and you're thinking about making more, or thinking about making more of an impact with your species pledges. I'm Megan Joyce. I'm the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for Reverse the Red, and I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin Brandt in a moment, who is going to give you our full rundown and presentation of the species pledge. But just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you would like to introduce yourselves in the chat, I see many of you doing that already. It is great to see who you are and where you're calling from. That's wonderful. You do have the option to show Zoom AI translation at the bottom of your Zoom window. So you can see show captions down there and show translated captions if you would like. And then we are recording this, and so we will be able to share the recording, and you'll be able to see all of the slides and everything that we present after the presentation. We will have plenty of time for questions at the end of Caitlin's presentation, so you can save them. You can put them in the chat. You can put them in the Q&A. Or you can save them and ask them once we are through there. But we are Reverse the Red. We're an IUCN SSC action partnership. We're co-chaired by the IUCN Species Survival Commission and World Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And we have governing council members that include the Botanic Gardens Conservation International, Rewild, the Toronto Zoo, and Zoological Society of London. And with all of our governing council partners, we are so excited to really present the Species Pledge. This is an effort to act together towards Target 4 and biodiversity recovery. And so, again, really happy to have you all here. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Caitlin, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. So, like Megan said, my name is Caitlin Brandt. I am the Species Impact Coordinator at Reverse the Red, and I do all things Species Pledge. So I'm just going to share my screen for you. And I'm going to do a little tutorial of the pledge later on. But first, we can talk a little bit about the background of the Species Pledge and why should you make a Species Pledge? Why should you make more pledges? And we'll go into how to get the most out of it as well. So Megan already covered this. Reverse the Red is a global action partnership with our governing council there at the bottom. At the global level, Reverse the Red is trying to reverse the red on the IUCN Red List and recover species populations. But this also works with the Global Biodiversity Framework that was signed in 2022. 196 countries signed this agreement, and Goal A is to reduce human-induced extinction of known threatened species by 2050 and reduce the risk of extinction for all species by tenfold, by 10 times, which is a pretty big goal, but we've got some time to do it. Specifically, Target 4 is what Reverse the Red works on. So there's 4 goals, A to D, and then 23 targets to get us to those goals. Target 4 is also about all about halting extinctions. So by 2030, we want to ensure that urgent management actions are in place to halt human-induced extinction. So we just got to get those actions started. The Global Species Action Plan, the GSAP, is very important to the Species Pledge. I'll talk more about the connection later. But the IUCN created this plan to help countries and conservation practitioners, so whoever you represent here, to accomplish those targets and accomplish Target 4. So they have a list, it goes from 4.1 to 4.7 of actions, those urgent management actions that you can put in place to halt extinction. And you'll see them again because they're part of the Species Pledge. So you can use the QR code if you want to see more about the GSAP, or you can go to the website as well. So the Species Pledge, why we're all here today. It's a database of specific actions happening for specific species. So it's all about species conservation. And it uses that GSAP list I just showed you on the previous slide to say what these actions are. Are they assessments? Are they recovery planning? Are they, ex situ populations? You have a zoo breeding population that you're going to put back into the wild. It covers a wide range of actions on the pledge. We're doing this so that we can find out what actions are happening for species around the world, and also importantly, finding out what actions are not happening for species around the world. So what critically endangered species have no actions happening for them, for example. And all of this is in aid of increasing collaboration. So between governments, like we said, that Target 4, Goal A, was signed by 196 countries. So at the national level, countries have said they want to halt extinction and they will do it. And this is also for civil society, so NGOs, zoos, aquariums, botanic gardens, research organizations, etc. We want to work together better, and this is a way we can kind of find out what's happening on a global scale. Okay, so you've heard kind of the background, all the way up from the global level, but why should you make a species pledge? You're contributing to this, worldwide need to halt extinction. And you're also getting that international recognition. Reverse the Red loves sharing stories of people who have made species pledges, what they've done for recovery. We also are working with governments. We're starting to work with governments around the world so they can see who's on the ground in their country and doing the work. So getting that national alignment and national recognition within your own country. I talked a little bit on the last slide about collaboration as well. And starting to work with each other. You can browse pledges. I'll go through and show you how you can look up other pledges and see who's working on maybe somebody's working on translocations and you really need a translocation expert. Maybe you can reach out to them. Or maybe you're working on the same or similar species and you want to talk to them about it. We're trying to increase collaboration because we know as conservationists, we're very busy. Sometimes we end up in silos because we just have too many things to do. And we're hoping the pledge is, a simple form you can do to make connections. Finally, there's an access to funding as well. So we have the Accelerator Award at Reverse the Red, which is only open to those who make species pledges. I will talk more about it later on in the presentation. So what is a species pledge really? It's a commitment of action aimed towards the recovery of wild populations. So where we're looking for, we're doing this breeding program so that they can be released into the wild, or, we're working with wild populations rather than domesticated species. It's essentially a short form that captures your current or future work with a specific species. So if you have work planned, you can make that pledge. We're committing to, releasing 2,000 insects, butterflies, whatever you're working on. And And public pledges, I'd say probably about 98% of pledges are public. You can put a toggle, and I'll show you that when we go through the pledge. And they show off your organization name when you make the pledge, the species you're working on, the country you're working in, and those conservation actions that you're doing. Private pledges are usually because there's persecution of that species, can be very unpopular to work on it, those kind of things. But most of the time, they're public. Like I said, this helps us map global conservation action and alignment towards that halting extinctions and recovering species. Yeah, so Reverse the Red believes the number of success stories can be multiplied with the appropriate focus, communication, and adequate resourcing. So helping us work together, showcasing those stories of hope. Right now we'll go on the pledge. There's over 500 organizations working towards species recovery. You're not alone in this world of conservation. And we also have the Accelerator Award, and we're also trying to bring more funding into Target 4, into species recovery. Making the pledge guides that strategic recovery-focused effort. You'll see the questions are very based on impact, using the red list data that's, someone has already compiled all this data together. Use that. Use a recovery plan that's been already made to guide your work. We should build on each other's work as we go forward. The Reverse the Red Conservation Status Improvement Guidelines are also a tool if you're looking for new species. So if you're looking for a species to recover, it's a really helpful guide to show you that impact-based work. Like on the green status assessment, is it, the recovery potential, is it very high? If this is all new to you, please, there's a QR code on the screen. You can check that out, and it explains it. Also shows you the red list potential as well. So, is there only one threat? Is that not very expensive or affordable threat to mitigate? Thinking about all these things as we look at recovering species. Okay, so that's a little bit about the pledge, why it exists, why to make one. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what makes a good pledge. So a strong pledge should commit your organization to actions that have measurable conservation impact. So like I said, it's that contributing to growing wild populations or increasing knowledge to support the protection. Maybe you're doing an assessment of the threats to a species. Maybe you're doing an assessment, a red list assessment of its status. Is it critically endangered? Is it least concern? If you are doing actions, involve monitoring the outcomes of your efforts. Did the population go up? These things should be, included in the pledge. Are we monitoring population size? Are we monitoring distribution? Those kind of things. And there is a question involving that I'll go through in more detail. Like I said, if a species has a recovery plan, please include that in your pledge. You can see in the top right here, in the additional metrics, they say they're implementing federal and provincial recovery strategies. Let us know that this is part of a connected network. So when we get more pledges for the species, we know that everyone's working together. Finally, just wanted to mention the addressing key threats. So using the red list to guide your recovery work. There's a lot of knowledge on those red list assessments. And you can see here at the bottom, you can see why the population is considered endangered. So it's decreasing. You might not be a number of mature individuals or a large number of mature individuals. And you can also see the threats, things like commercial development. So when you're thinking about actions to mitigate these threats, you can use the red list for a lot of it. Okay, so I'm going to take us to the website now, so we can just look at, if you haven't made a pledge before, we can go through how to make one. And then I'm also going to go through how to use the pledge system to your advantage. And then afterwards, we'll talk more about how to get the most out of making pledges. So we launched this new system at the beginning of the year. So if you made a pledge a couple years ago, this is going to look totally different. So I'm just going to exit out of the presentation and take us over to the app. And Megan, please let me know if you can't see this page. I'm now on the pledge webpage?
That looks great.
Perfect. Okay, so this is the page. It will ask you to sign in. I'm already in. If you go to make a pledge, we will have an error. All right, maybe I'll go back if this doesn't go and we'll let it load. My internet has been very bad today. Okay, so we'll come back to the tutorial at the end maybe because my presentation is already loaded. So when you make one, to get the most out of your pledge, announce them. We've had loads of organizations do joint ones, so they'll all make a pledge, all of the partners, and then they'll come together and say, hey, we're committed to recovering this species. It gets local media involved or national media involved. Let the media know. We've had people go on TV together for Reverse the Red Day. So Reverse the Red Day is in February every year, and use that for your pledge. Say, hey, we pledged with Reverse the Red to make this, to recover this species. So use all of these opportunities to get, bolster funding and get interest from the public. You can also identify potential partners. So like I said, you can search the new website and you can see, is someone working on the same species as me or just a similar area? Because you can search by taxa as well. And finally, share, collaborate, and celebrate. If you have a major achievement or even, small achievements, maybe you translocated a bunch of frogs and they're now in their new habitat or reintroduced to an old area. Tag Reverse the Red in your post or email us and let us know so we can share your successes with everyone. And we have a global network that I'm sure would love to hear success stories. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Accelerator Award as well. So the Accelerator Award is for 15,000 US, and we also offer storytelling and strategic support. It is open to anybody who's made a species pledge. So you have to make a species pledge to be eligible for the Accelerator Award. And although the species pledge is open to all species in the world, the Accelerator Award is only open to those that are classified as endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the wild, or in urgent cases, data deficient species. This can be on the global red list or your national red list. And we have one application per organization, and it will likely open again in September 2026. So it is coming. So as you plan your pledges, this opportunity will be coming, and we'll send an email to all pledge makers that the award is open. Like I said, the species pledge is open to all species. We really want to get an idea of who is working on what. So if your organization is working on 100 species, we'd love to get 100 pledges from you. So although the Accelerator Award's a little bit more narrow, the species pledge is for everything. I'm just going to go through some frequently asked questions, and then hopefully my internet has improved. Should we make a pledge for populations like SSBs or EEPs as insurance for genetic populations? So this is for usually zoos, aquariums, botanic gardens who have ex situ captive populations. If it's part of a recovery plan that you have this genetic diversity or you have a breeding population that you could reintroduce into the wild in the future, and this is kind of like a safe, of course, please make a species pledge. We'd love to hear that, these things are happening and that in the future, maybe when the habitat has been restored, the species can go back into the wild. Should we make a pledge if we fund partners fulfilling the strategic actions? We would love for the partner to do the species pledge, the one carrying out the action rather than the funder. So we want to know that's happening, but it's for the people who are actually doing the assessment, the recovery plan, the in situ habitat restoration for the species. Can we make commitments for species recovery we haven't started yet? Yes. So if you're planning it, you've got your recovery plan set out and you intend to carry out those actions, please make a species pledge and say, we're committed to doing this thing. So those are just some frequently asked questions we get. Before we go into the full Q&A, I'm going to try the platform one more time, and maybe if it doesn't work, I might ask Megan for a hand. No, not on mine.
I can share.
Perfect. I will stop sharing for a second and Megan can share hers. Perfect. So here is the platform. So you were on that first page, you click Make a Pledge. All right, so this is the form if you've never seen it before. And like I said, it's one page, and we'll go through it together. At the top, you can see there's also a bulk import option. We'll go through that afterwards. But if you're looking at making your first pledge, you start with the species name. Oh, someone's saying they can't see the screen. Hold on, I can see yours. Is anyone else having that problem? Can you let us know? Maybe if we, or if you can see it, please let us know. Okay, it looks like some people can see it. All right. All right. Gabriella, if you're having an issue, maybe rejoining might help as we go through this. Okay, great. So you start with your species name. Our database is connected to iNaturalist, the GBIF, the global database, and the IUCN Red List. So it knows a lot of species. As you can see, you've got the lion there. You just click on that. You can do subspecies as well. If you're doing, a species that's new or maybe not on any of these databases, you can do a custom name. So it will come up and it will say, there we go. And then it says use custom name. So if it's not included in any of those databases, don't worry. You can put it in and we'll see that and we can add it and review it. The next question is about the country you're working in. If you are based in one country and working in another country, pick the country you're working in. And if you're working in multiple countries, we ask that you make multiple pledges because this is based on the target 4 national level. So we're at the national level in the species pledge. So you can use the bulk import option if you're working in a lot of countries, but for the same species, and the pledge is the same. Yeah, so there's multiple options there. And thank you. I can see in the chat there's help going on for Gabriella. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you can see it now. The next question is about partners. So we'd like to just know how people are connected. Like I said, we're trying to increase collaboration, so that always helps. The next question is all about actions. So this is where that GSAP, the Global Species Action Plan, comes in. So please take a look at that resource and you can see more about each of these actions. But these are all the urgent management actions under Target 4 according to the GSAP. So you've got assessment of a wild population threat or recovery. You've got recovery plan building, rescue rehabilitation, translocations, etc. So you've got a full list there. If you're working on one thing, click that one thing. If you're working on multiple, you can click multiple. So you can it's open to however wide your range of work is. There's also an other section if your action is not covered in that list, and it will let you write it in. So the next bit's about monitoring. So, how are you monitoring your progress towards species recovery? So you've got abundance, distribution, population size, how many are you looking at how many individuals there are? Are you tracking them? Are you, doing traps or however else? And you can also say, none of the above, I'm doing, something on a different scale and we don't do that, or other as well, if you're looking at other things. And those monitoring that section is based on the IUCN Red List. Okay, so we're almost there. It's a very short form. Are there any other metrics that you use to determine success in species recovery? So tell us about, are there other things you're looking for? Mature individuals, those kind of things, or maybe it's specific to fungi, how big is the microbial network in the ground, these kind of things. Finally, what are your objectives for this project? So this is, what recovery based, what is the goal of our work with the species? Is it to change it from critically endangered to endangered, or is it to up the population from 200 to 1,000? This is where you let us know what you're working on so that we can share those successes as you reach those goals, or tailor our support as the Reverse the Red Network to your work. So that is the whole form. And then you submit it. It will go for review. A member of the Reverse the Red team will review it. They might ask for more information. They might approve it straight away. You should hear back in a week or two about that. And you can check the website, you can log in, you can see if your pledges are approved. There's also, yep, this is great. Thank you, Megan. So you can see we do a lot of test ones, so we have got 75 discarded, but you can always delete pledges if that you planned that work and it didn't happen, or you can see draft ones as well. You don't have to submit everything all together, and we'll go back to the bulk import to show you what drafts look like. Under review are the ones that haven't been approved yet, and so on. Okay, so this is the bulk import feature. So I had this ready. I might send it to you, Megan, really quick. A list of species so we can go through this together. 2 seconds. Okay. So the bulk import feature, if you are working on 100 species and you want to go through things quicker, I've sent a list of species to Megan with their country. On this first sheet, we just ask for the species and then the country. And you can also download a template. It's down at the bottom right there if you'd rather do it in an Excel sheet, and then you can upload your file. So a few different options. And then there's also an AI option to clean up your list if it's not in this format exactly. That function can help it clean it up and put it into the format the pledge needs. On the bottom right, when you've got all your species and countries in, you put process species list, and now it's matching it to those databases to see what species you have. And it may take a second. All right. So when these are in, you're going to see a table. And this is where you can add all your actions, the partners, etc., from that original form that you saw for the single species. All right, so it looks like it found almost all of them except one. And it was the kiwi in New Zealand that did not work. Might be confused whether it's the plant or the bird. So you can see you can go in and edit that and make sure it's matched up, or use a custom name if it's not in there. So this is your first sheet just to show you that it matched to the country and the species. So I think we can go to the next one, which is at the bottom. You can click create 15 drafts. So they're not sent to us yet. They're just private for you. And this is, like I said, this table where you can add in all of your actions. So there they are. I don't think we don't need to go too much into this. It's the form just in table version. And you can add all of those. And then on the left, you can see there's check boxes. So if you're ready to send some, but not all to us, you can do that, or you can hit select all at the top um, and submit them. They'll come at the bottom. And you can see those extra indicators at the bottom that you can add to um, country if you want to change that. And there's also a more tab at the bottom where you can add the partners and so on. So that's kind of our two different options. You can do them singularly or as a bulk import. Either way, we'd love to see them. And we're constantly improving this platform. So if you do have suggestions of things, that you'd love to see or that would really help you out, please let us know. You can always email me. I'm gonna head over, if you don't mind, Megan, to the public pledges section. So this is when you're browsing and looking at other pledges. So you can see we've got 5,000. There's about almost 3,000 species involved. But the real, kicker of this is you can filter them. So there's a filter bottom right below that initial card. You can filter by IUCN category, which is that status. Is it endangered, critically endangered, so on. Perfect, thank you. Extinct in the wild. And there's a plus next to extinct in the wild because now you can actually search by country as well if you wanted to, or by, I think there's also taxa. So you could look at critically endangered amphibians, for example, or there we go. Maybe we don't have many extinct in the wild species at the moment. But there's a lot of options of how to search for species if you're looking for something. So maybe you're looking for a group that does something similar. You're looking, who's missing out of the species specialist group, those kind of things. Right now, it's automatically filtered on most pledges. So you can see our cats are all at the top, but you can actually change that. And that's because the cat specialist group has added hundreds and hundreds of pledges. You can see here, if you actually clicked on one of these, it should tell you the organization. So we've got a Portuguese organization working on the Bard's smoothhead, which I believe is a fish. It's currently data deficient. And if you go down to that card, you can see they're working on assessments as their conservation action. If you want to reach out to this group, for example, you can always email me and I can submit a connection request to them. Your data is safe with us. We won't share that unless you want to. In the future, as we're constantly updating this app, there will be a connection request button on that card. And it will send them an email from us saying, hey, this person wants to get in touch with you. Do you want to respond and get in touch with them? So there's things coming, things you can use as you go forward. So I think that's all I can show you right now with the pledge, but please play with it. Look around. We're constantly improving it as we go through. So hopefully that's useful to you. I'm going to share my screen again and just go through the final bit of our presentation. And I'm going to share it to show you my email address. So if you need anything from me, as you do your pledge or you want to connect with someone, please let me know. And just wanted to say thank you for all of the work you do for species conservation. We see so many inspiring, stories and pledges, and it's really good to know that there's so many people working on this around the world. And like I said, we're always trying to make this, pledge better. So let us know if there's things you want to see. So that's the end of my presentation, but we want to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat. I'll watch the chat. Or if you want to speak, I think, Megan, we can do that, right?
Yes, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question verbally, that is totally fine. We also have we have a couple of questions in the Q&A box, Caitlin, so I think we could probably start there, and I can facilitate this for you if you'd like. We had a question that the award is just for private organizations. So zoological institutions can participate. That's a question? And then a related question, so I'm going to have you answer them both together, is how can individual researchers be involved?
Perfect. Okay. Yes, please use the Q&A feature. Sorry about that, rather than the chat. Great questions. So the award is open to organizations and the pledge too. So we're looking for anything, can be a private organization, it can be a research institute, can be an NGO. So yes, zoological institutions can participate in both the pledge and the accelerator award. And that includes species specialist groups as well. It can be any sort of entity that can both put in pledges and the accelerator award. And then the second question about individuals, we would love to have your pledge if you're part of an institution, if you're sponsored by a university. Unfortunately, the award is not open to individuals. We're looking for organizational pledges and funding. But yes, please, if you have a sponsor, get involved. Okay.
Wonderful. I have a question that I think, Caitlin, if you're all right, I will answer on the IUCN Contributions for Nature platform. This person's asking how the Species Pledge platform may relate, and we have explored different areas to really link our Species Pledge data with many different data sets, and so there may be options for linkages in the future. Right now, as far as our understanding of the Contributions for Nature platform, is that it is only open to IUCN members. And so one thing is that the Species Pledge is open to all of the institutions that Caitlin just mentioned, all types of organizations, uh, governments, NGOs, community-based organizations, zoos, aquariums, botanic gardens. You do not have to be a member of IUCN to contribute your Species Pledge. The Species Pledge, as Caitlin mentioned with the actions, it also is very specifically tied to actions for Target 4 around species recovery. And so the Contributions for Nature platform covers a few different other areas with restoration and doesn't always link specifically to a single species. So we are looking for that. Our data for the Species Pledge is supposed to link to a specific species. You may be doing some kind of habitat protection or habitat restoration that will benefit multiple species, but we would expect for our data set that that would be multiple different pledges, even if the action is for one single protected area or habitat area. Caitlin, another question. How would it work to do a species pledge for a species that is locally listed under a national or endangered species legislation, but is least concern on the red list, and maybe that listing is out of date?
Yeah. So species pledges open to every species. It doesn't matter if it's least concern to, extinct in the wild, data deficient. Um, for the Accelerator Award, like I said, it's endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the wild. That is open to species that are listed as those on the global, but also your national red list. So you could still apply for an Accelerator Award if it's under your national red list as endangered. You would just show proof of that when you apply for the award. For the species pledge, it's open to everything. So it might show, because it's linked to the global database, it might show as least concern and have that out of date um, listing or status, sorry. But in the pledge too, you can just let us know. Say, this is under our national red list as endangered. So we have a better idea. I hope that answers that.
Perfect. Our next question is we have an organization managing XE2 populations for different species. Their organizations are based in Germany. Should they put Germany as the country? Or would they put the country that the species is located in?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So if you have an ex situ population, put the country that it's in. But if you're doing work to restore that population into the wild in a different country, I would say make a separate pledge with that country. Because they're country based and you can only put one country per pledge. If you have ex situ populations in Germany and also I don't know, Austria, you would make two pledges saying we have an extinction population here, we have an extinction population here, and then if you're putting that gecko back into Kenya, you would also make a third pledge for Kenya. I hope that makes sense. It's a little complicated with the countries, but always best to make multiple pledges for multiple countries.
Great. Our next question is if there's any validation of species and the countries, for example, based on red list countries of occurrence. Um,
So currently, no. Right now, we take your knowledge as the knowledge, saying I'm working in Indonesia on a tiger, and we say, "Yep, okay, that's where you're doing your work," and approve it. It only takes the red list species name and its status. It currently does not match up the countries. Um, so if there are errors, we try our best to catch them based on our knowledge, and our network is very knowledgeable and can let us know. But that's how we do it at the moment.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions? I think we have a couple of specific questions that we can answer via email for your specific pledge. We might need to go into the platform and actually review the data that's in there. So we can do that in email for a couple of our more specific questions, but does anyone have any additional questions around the pledge? All right. While you're all thinking, I'm just going to put in another plug. I added the link in the chat when Caitlin mentioned sharing your stories and your stories of success and your work around your species pledges. But please do keep February 7th on your calendars. That is Reverse the Red Day. And every year we share stories from the Species Pledge network, from all of you who are working on these species and all of the work that you're doing and all of the success that you find. We do share that throughout the year, but especially on Reverse the Red Day. And so we would love to see your pledge story shared then. And then again, just if you've already made a pledge, please consider making additional pledges for other work that you are doing. We have certainly we welcome your pledges with the idea of applying for the Accelerator Award, but we are hoping to grow this data set and database more broadly. We're looking to know what species you're working on. We're looking to know what countries you're working in so we can support networks and support collaboration. And we're looking for what expertise you have. So when you check those actions, do check actions that you are actually doing or actually planning on doing, because if we need to look for someone with translocation experience or human wildlife conflict and coexisting existence experience, we would love to be able to reach out to you and see, is this something, is this other pledge or this other project something that you can help with, or something like that. So do make pledges for all of the work that you're doing. We hope that there are multiple pledges for each organization. Caitlin, anything else to add?
No, that's everything. I think you covered it well. And thank you for coming to this today, and taking time out of your day. I really look forward to seeing your pledges as they come in and as we build this international network. So thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. We will share the recording and all of the links from the chat as soon as we are done here. And please do stay in touch and keep an eye out for our next upcoming webinars over the next few months. We have a number of different topics coming up that you might find interesting. So those are all on our event page and they will come out through email as well. All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.